Just because a child is nonverbal and autistic does not mean he or she is not communicating. They are absolutely able to communicate. The problem is most of us are not listening, right? Because their form of communication is in a form of sensory play, sensory behaviors. They're really stuck in that sensory world, and that's how they know how to communicate. So whenever I have a client like that, what I tell parents is you need to be so tuned into their sensory profile. Because absolutely work with the speech therapist on verbal communication or AAC device or whatever it is you're working on. Absolutely do that. But you also need to understand their sensory profile, what their needs are, what they like, what they don't like. If you don't do that, you're missing out on a big opportunity to connect with your child, because that's how they communicate, right? When you need Johnny to sit down and do an activity or have dinner and he's spinning in circles, well, he's telling you, my body is not regulated enough to sit down, right? The problem is most of us get irritated, or we're trying to corral them over or convince them. But instead of that, we need to listen with a sensory ear and go, okay, what does this child need? And how can I give it to them in an appropriate way so that they can get their needs met, and then they can do what we need them to do to be functional, right? That's what needs to happen. And the best way to do it is to really understand their sensory profile. Now, we expect children to learn to talk, even though that's really hard for them. Obviously, it's a very difficult activity for them. But we're not always willing to learn their language, which is sensory. So that's what I implore you to do, and reach out to your therapist if you have one to help you create that. And then you can really create some meaningful forms of communication that don't always look traditional, but that's okay. Traditional doesn't mean it's the best for your child.